Welcome to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and it's my pleasure to be with you again today. Today's show I'm calling What Rats Can Teach Us About Life and Love. And did you know that we humans can learn a thing or two about life and love from rats? Well, if you're like most people, you find yourself acting in the same ways over and over again and responding to others in scripted ways as well. And this is because we people are creatures of habit, and there's actually a technical name for this. It's called the status quo resistance. And this resistance leads most of us humans to stick with the familiar and resist change. And when it comes to our relationships, we act the same way again and again, even when our actions don't achieve the desired results. So stay tuned to find out how rats can help us break out of our unproductive behavioral loops. I'm going to also be answering 3 questions today. The first one is, help a firefighter who is in love with his ex but confused by her actions. And in this question, I'm helping out a 26-year-old firefighter whose girlfriend returned to her baby daddy who physically abuses her. And he wants to know if he's chasing quote-unquote blind love and is going to get hurt. So stick with me to hear my suggestions for him. Second question is called Newlywed Wife Dislikes Friend. And I work with a man here who's been married for 2 years to a woman who's 20 years his senior, and he doesn't understand why she's suddenly jealous of his friendship with a 20-year-old female co-worker who he's been helping deal with anxiety. And he's stopped contact with this coworker, but he's resentful of his wife. So stay with me to find out how I recommend that he proceed so that he can be kind to the girl and also save his relationship. Now, in Where to Go From Here, I'm working with a married woman who's not on the same page as her husband when it comes to material possessions. She wants to divest herself of all material belongings and travel, and he's a pack rat. So stay tuned to find out how they can handle their differences. And of course, reading between the sheets, I've got to get into the bedroom sometime. What else would Dr. Love be doing if she didn't also include sex in our relationship topics? So this one's called, Is It Worth It? Well, the sex piece comes in here with the fact that I'm helping a young Indian woman who's having second thoughts about marrying her boyfriend, whose parents trashed her reputation calling her a slut and also a gold digger. And she wants to know how she can forget the hurt and go forward with him. So stay with me to find out what she really needs to do, and it has nothing to do with lobotomizing her memory. So now let's get on to today's topic, what rats can teach us about life and love. So if you're like most people, I'm sure you're all too familiar with how hard it is to change your ways. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. So today is the day that you can decide once and for all to make a lasting change in your life. And I know you probably, like most of us, you do have a genuine desire to grow in life and love. But if you don't understand why you're not getting the results you want and how to get the results you want, then you're going to continue to do the things that you've been doing, and you're going to continue to get what you've been getting. So if you've been trying to change for a while and you've even made promises to yourself that you'll change only to see each and every one of your resolutions wither and die on the vine, then you know that each time you fail at sticking to your decisions or resolutions, your self-esteem decomposes a little more. So I want to help you stick to your resolutions and help you figure out what's failing to make them stick. And then I'm going to show you how to create your very own relationship resolution so that you can finally crank your love life into high gear. So stick with me, because I'm going to hand you the keys so you can drive home your deepest relationship desires. And again, we all do have the genuine desire to achieve the changes we want. So first off, I want you to give yourself your self-esteem a pass, because I'm here to tell you straight up that your past failures didn't come from a lack of true desire or a lack of commitment to making changes in your life. The real reason why people don't change is because we are creatures of habit, and we continue to do the things that we've always done simply because we're programmed that way. That's how the human brain is programmed. And our programs are our belief systems, and these belief systems determine our thoughts and our actions, and that ultimately determines our results. And as I said, this stuckness is, the technical name for it is the status quo resistance. So knowing that we all tend to like to stick with the familiar, it's key to helping you make the decision to no longer recreate the things that you no longer desire in your life. And this is the first step to making changes that stick. So here's how rats can actually teach us a thing or two on the topic. Now, it's really true. Have you ever seen a rat caught in a maze? What does the rat do when he hits up on a dead-end wall? When I ask people this question, they always say to me, well, he just keeps banging his head on the wall. But in fact, he doesn't. Rats back up and go another way around. It's only people who keep banging their heads against the same dead-end walls, repeating the same behaviors over and over again, even though they don't work. So it's time for you, starting today, to take a lesson from rats. When you take stock in your life and see that something you're doing doesn't work, it's time to back up and try something new. And your new mantra then becomes, what doesn't work, no matter how long I keep doing it, and no matter how many days, weeks, months, and years I keep banging my head on the same wall. So from this day forward, I'm going to back up and try something new. That's your mantra I'm giving you. From now on, start admitting that in order to get out of your own dead-end maze, you need to consciously reprogram your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions so you can stay on track and actually achieve your goal. Now that you understand the universally maladaptive aspect of human psychology, you can see that it's actually simple to achieve a goal. You may not know how, but don't allow the not knowing to stop you from believing and achieving the end result that you want. And don't allow yourself to hold yourself back from taking the necessary actions that you need to take toward the achievement of your goal. So now I want to give you a little step-by-step plan for how to make changes that stick. All right? Now the first one is you got to decide what you want. So decide what it is you want in your life, even though you don't know how you're going to make it happen. And remember that all great achievements have begun this way. Last year I had a guest on the show, Rick Tamlin. He talks about it's all made up. You know, when we decided to put a man on the moon, nobody had an idea how that dream would come about. We didn't even have the technology. So first you create your dream. Then you decide that you're going to fulfill it. And then the how is going to come about. And you know, I often talk about the Ask Dr. Love ministry. It came about in this way. In the early 80s, I had a vision of my bringing out relationship advice to people throughout the world using computers. And at the time, the internet didn't even exist. And then in the early 90s, nearly a decade later, when the internet was created, I jumped and made the dream come true. So my point is, most people get bogged down by thinking, well, I don't know how to do X, Y, or Z, and since they don't know how, they're going to achieve that goal, they just don't do anything about it. And then we give up before we've even begun. So I'm here to tell you that you don't have to know how, just start by deciding what it is you want. And when you decide what you want, and by the way, that is a resolution for change, it's a decision, right? And you stick to your decision by being determined, you will find the way, even if it isn't evident to you in the beginning. And the how will be revealed to you when you stay focused on the goal. And you must stay focused on the goal. Now here's the second thing. Know that you are the glue that keeps you stuck. So become aware of the things that you've been doing in the past that have been preventing you from achieving your goals. So for example, if you notice that you have a repetitive thought pattern, that may be something like this: I'll never have a happy relationship, or I'm just no good at relationships, or I just can't seem to get it, or I've never had a happy relationship and I won't be able to have one. So every thought you think is pure energy in motion, and whether you believe it or not, these thoughts are anchors that firmly embed themselves in your psyche. They weigh you down and they hold you back no matter how hard you try to move forward and do the things that you think are taking you toward the achievement of your goal. So self-debilitating words and phrases come from your belief system. And it's your belief system that's going to have the greatest impact on your results. So create a belief system that will support you in the achievement of your goals. And you can do this by answering this question: what do I need to believe in order to achieve this goal? And write down the answer and read it every single day, several times a day. And I'm certain you've heard the expression, if you hear something over and over again, you'll start to believe it. Well, the same principle applies here. Repetition will cause you to start to believe whatever it is can be done even if you don't have faith in the beginning. And remember the saying, and it will have a profound impact on your life. Believe, and your belief will create your wishes, your goals, and your dreams. Now, also, I want you to remember you've got to, this is 3, focus on making one change at a time. Because the most common mistake people make out of enthusiasm and overeagerness is to try to change too many things at once. And I'm going to run like 1,000 miles a week, and it usually becomes too much a few weeks down the line, and so the new goals and habits are left in the ditch as you fall back into the old routine once again. So yes, be enthusiastic, but be smart too, and only focus on one habit or small change per month, and do it until this becomes your new normal, and then you'll add another habit or small change. And it's said that after 6 weeks of adopting a new behavior, that behavior has become yours for life. And it might feel like things are going too slowly, but in 12 months, you may be able to accrue 12 new habits in your life and in your relationships if you do this in a focused and smart way. Now, step 4 is make a clear goal. So for a dream to become a goal, it has to be specific. So being thin is an image. Losing 10 pounds by March 1st is a true resolution. So be clear on what you want to achieve. Make a resolution for change that you have a real, bona fide intention of keeping. So the truth is, most people haven't made a genuine, serious, no kidding, no BSing around, I really mean to do it resolution. Now, step 5 is baby steps lead to big growth down the line. So to avoid procrastination and inner resistance, make things easy on yourself. So take small steps outside of your comfort zone. So gradually enter what I call your discomfort zone. Start by running just 5 minutes. Then a week or two later, add 5 more minutes. Or start working for just 5 minutes on something that you feared or you've been nervous about doing. And then you can go back to your regular stuff and then come back and do 5 more minutes of work on that one thing later on in the day or the day after that. And small steps add up quickly. And it's far better to have traveled quite a distance over a year by taking small steps than to feel overwhelmed by taking a first big step and procrastinating on it for 6 months or 12. So it's far better than to take that big step once or twice, but not being able to keep it up each week because it simply becomes too much for you. Okay? Now, step 6 is write it down. So a reminder right in front of your eyes is a vital tool that's going to assist you in taking action toward the achievement of your goals. So take some action today. An action that you can take is to write out your goals. Write out only one of your goals. And doing this not only takes an enormous, this doesn't take an enormous amount of time. And ask yourself what action you're going to take. And if you don't know what action to take to achieve the goal, find someone who's already achieved the result that you want and discover how he or she did it, right? We learn from people who can mentor us, or listen to an expert that you trust, and find a way for you to do 2 things toward the achievement of your goal each day. And these 2 daily actions can be simple things, but stick to a commitment to do at least these 2 things each and every day, and you're going to see extraordinary results within a really short period of time. And you'll be amazed at the results. Do this for 30 days and see how it changes your life. And once you see the positive changes, increase your intensity, focus, faith, commitment, and take more action and watch the new improvements over the next week or the next 30 days. And I'm certain you're familiar with exponential growth, and you will have exponential growth when day to day, month to month, you continue to work toward the achievement of your goal, and you make subtle distinctions and improvements. And so that is a really, really important thing. And maybe also don't let your habit slip through the cracks. Put a note in your workspace where you can't avoid seeing it. Make a copy of the note. Put it on your bedside table too. So commitment isn't only habitual, but it's essential, and it moves you even closer to your resolution and your ultimate success. It's the heartbeat of your goal. Or I have to take a brief break, but I'm going to be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio. You're listening to Ask Dr. Love Radio with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. AskDrLove.com is the web's premier relationship advice site since 1995. So come visit me at AskDrLove.com and search thousands of free relationship advice articles on any relationship issue you may have. Or you can submit a question to my free advice column. And remember, this show is for you. So if you have a comment or a question for me, go to AskDrLove.com and use the contact drop-down button. And don't be shy, because I want to help you. So take advantage of this unique opportunity to get a personal answer from me, one of today's most respected experts. Now I'm also going to share with you my Love Bite. As I said, these just launched a few weeks ago, and they're in every main market in America. My little relationship advice tidbits. Did you know that you should never use your Peter as a love meter? No wonder Mark is missing the mark, because every time he takes a new woman to bed, he ends up scratching his head. His big head, I mean. How can he tell if he's in love or only in lust? Time! Simple lust usually fades within a few weeks to months, while true romantic love lasts. So remember, when it comes to gauging whether you're in love or only in lust, never use your Peter as a love meter. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf of Ask Dr. Love on webtalkradio.net. Now back to Ask Dr. Love. Welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf. My pleasure to be with you today. I'm talking about how rats can teach us a thing or two about life and love, and this is my quickie segment. So before we get back to my 10-step method for helping you make changes in life and love, let's just talk a little bit about some of the latest research on the question of stress and our brains and change. So you may identify with the rats in a new Portuguese study. When exposed to chronic daily stress, being cooped up in a plastic tube for an hour a day, say, or forced to swim for 10 minutes, they soon became lousy decision makers. And they were relying on habit instead of actively thinking about whether to press a lever to get a food pellet. Does this sound familiar? The stresses we face are different. Obviously, morning traffic, unsympathetic bosses, the recession. But over time, they get to us just like the rats in that study. So how often do we talk about burned out people who are just going through the motions? And have you ever meant to stop by the grocery store on the way home after a bad day at work and instead just forgot and went straight home? Well, you do the automatic thing instead of doing what you had planned. And that's what happened to the rats. For 3 weeks, they were exposed to a standard regimen of randomly timed stresses, such as being confined in a tube or briefly bullied through a plastic window by intruder rats. And at the same time, they were given a standardized test. Press a lever to get a sugar treat, and after 3 weeks, they were significantly worse at it than they had been at the start of the experiment. So unlike other rats, the researchers say, they pressed the levers in the same pattern they always had, even if they had already had their fill of treats. They appeared to follow habits instead of making a decision about whether they were hungry for a reward. And there's more. The researchers found brain changes in the rats. Parts of the brain believed to control goal-directed behavior shrank slightly, but an area thought to be important for forming habits, known as the dorsolateral striatum, that actually grew. And the study by the Portuguese and the American scientists in the journal Science found that the rats became creatures of habit. So now we know there is a direct link between stress and habits, and their decision making was affected. And this was also reported by Dr. Sudeepa Varma, professor at the psychiatry at NYU School of Medicine. She wasn't involved in the experiment, but she's worked with people who endured the trauma of September 11, and she's seen how their brains were affected by stress. And one of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder is its effect on memory and concentration. And even after undergoing treatment, these areas lag. People can't find their keys, they forget appointments, things like that. And Dr. Simon Rigo of New York's Albert Einstein College of Medicine said that the study is consistent with other studies, that if the stressor is unpredictable, we may be driven to increase our vigilance for it, and we won't have the mental resources available to other changes in our environment. And Dr. Robert Cloninger of the Washington University School of Medicine joined other psychiatrists in reminding people that stress can be controlled. And this researcher said chronic stress hijacks or short circuits access to the neocortex. So stressed rats and humans become creatures of habit with little flexibility or initiative in setting goals. And consequently, in human beings who are stressed, the first step in treatment is to reduce stress and help them learn to relax. Now, we all have feelings about stress in modern life, and you may object to animal experiments, but Listen, we're all just like the animals, these lab rats, stuck on a treadmill running because we're used to it. We burn out from chronic stress. We fall into routines that require less energy. And there's so much research proving the link between stress making us creatures of habit. And so here's what's diabolical about this. When we lose flexibility and creative thinking in our intimate relationships, we end up falling into fight cycles that never end, which only causes more stress and less creative thinking. So you can see the vicious cycle here, right? So a news article in ABC News says that for human beings who are stressed, the first treatment is to reduce stress and help them learn to relax. But obviously, you can't relax if you're always fighting in your relationships. So to stop the stress that comes from relationship fighting, we need to learn new ways of behaving, and that's what Kiss Your Fights Goodbye is all about. When you learn new ways of relating, you stop fighting and the stress goes away. So here's a couple tweets. Don't let relationship stress turn your brain into a mess. And when you end relationship distress, you are saying goodbye to the biggest source of stress. All right, I'm going to take a brief break, and I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio. You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If you yearn to get along better with your life partner or your spouse, friends, family members, or even co-workers, my latest Hay House book, Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, Dr. Love's 10 Simple Steps to Cooling Conflict and Rekindling Your Relationship, shows you how to turn conflict into connection for a lifetime of lasting love. Join my love revolution. Sign up for my free newsletter at AskDrLove.com and receive an exciting free gift, a free excerpt of Kiss Your Fights Goodbye. This is Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf, and if you have a question or a comment for me, submit it using the contact button at AskDrLove.com, or catch my archived show at webtalkradio.net. You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Once again, back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. Welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf. It's my pleasure to be with you. We're talking about what rats can teach us about life and love. And I was talking in segment 1 about my step-by-step plan for what you can do to get yourself out of the stuck places that result from relationship stress and life stress, and you lose your creativity to come up with new strategies for changing. So step 7 is get an accountability buddy. And it becomes a lot easier to stick with a new habit or change when it becomes a normal part of your life. And after that, too, if you have someone there to support you and help you with accountability, that's what coaches do, right? And that accountability buddy can check up on you so that you get the exercise you made, the exercise commitment done, or whatever other commitment you've done. Stay active in your dating life so you don't eat unhealthy food, and you in turn can do the same for your buddy, and so you both help each other stay on track. And it could be a friend, a family member, someone at work, or a member of a local club, someone you get to know online via a forum or a website. Actually, I'm going to be starting a really fantastic thing that nobody is doing. I can't wait to introduce this to you. I'm going to be running very private, supportive support groups where you get to interact with other people who are on the same love revolution mission as we all are here, and it's going to be called My Love Club in the Inner Love Circle, so keep your eye out for that. So when you don't even need to have an accountability buddy, by the way, who's doing the same thing that you are, that you just stay accountable to each other, support, motivate, and nudge each other back on the right track during those tough times. Now here's step 8. Don't flip when you slip. So you're going to have bad days and you're going to stumble even when you follow the tips I've given you so far. So the most important thing here is to not take that stumble too seriously. Don't be too hard on yourself when it happens, and don't beat yourself up for days, because beating yourself up really doesn't help, because it lowers your self-esteem and makes doing whatever it is you want to do harder and less fun after each time you've slipped and beaten up on yourself. So then that's going to easily lead you to giving up after a while. So avoid being your own worst enemy. And instead, after you've stumbled, ask yourself what your best friend would tell you in this situation, and be a good friend to yourself. and learn what you can from the experience so that you don't have to repeat the same stumble too many times. And then get back on the horse again and keep on going. All right? So this one, the last tip leads to the next one. Tip number 9, expect roadblocks. So be ready to handle the adversity and the challenges and be prepared to overcome the obstacles, because then you won't be so freaked out, right? When you stumble, you will have challenges. Be prepared. And to weather any challenge or obstacle or adversity, don't make it bigger than it is. Look for the gift in the adversity. Learn from it. Look past it. Just like when you're car sick, you don't look at what is in your immediate sight. You focus on the distant horizon, and you become relentlessly persistent. And here's step 10. Take radical personal responsibility now. And when it comes to making relationship changes, you want to pick one thing that's not working for you in your relationship, and instead of focusing on the other person and what he or she is doing wrong, focus on yourself and on what you're doing to keep the pattern going. And remember, it takes 2 to tango. So take responsibility for your part in the problem. Think outside the box. And what's amazing is the fact that when one person changes, the entire relationship shifts. And you're literally a pebble in that proverbial pond. So for example, let's say your husband never takes out the garbage, which triggers you to nag and yell at him. And then he gets mad at you and doesn't want to be responsive. So you yell and nag some more. And even if he started it, after a while, it doesn't matter, because you're both keeping the conflict going. So if you let go of the rope, stop banging your head on the dead-end wall, and do something different, the entire struggle is broken. So, for example, what if you said something positive to him, praised him for something else that he does that pleases you, and that you have overlooked because you pissed at him over the garbage? Now, your praise will smooth his feathers and make him more favorably inclined toward you. When we're angry at others, we don't want to be collaborative and responsive. So when we're feeling fed and acknowledged emotionally, we feel more generous and responsive, which will up your chances that he's going to want to take out the garbage on his own. So take a look at what you're doing that's not working, and if you need a cheat sheet, read all the fight traps that I've listed in Kiss Your Fights Goodbye. So if you're nagging, you're short-tempered, you're defensive, you're not listening, the first step toward letting go of a pattern that doesn't work is admitting what you're doing. And don't forget, whatever we say or do boomerangs back on you. So you're the author of your fate. You reap what you sow. Make a resolution to resolve this one dysfunctional, counterproductive behavior of yours. And remind yourself that you're responsible for what you say and do. You can choose to take 5, splash water on your face, stop banging your head on the same dead-end wall, and choose instead to say and do something totally out of that box. And this is a choice you can make. You and your relationship are going to reap the rewards. Your partner is going to be closer to you for it. And your love, your connection, and your intimacy is going to blossom from this day on. Alrighty, so let's get on to some questions now. Oh my goodness. I felt a little ant crawling on my leg. That wasn't fun. But we're going to come to the question from my firefighter. Again, the title is Help a Firefighter Who is in Love with His Ex but Confused by Her Actions. Hello, my name is Georgie, and I'm a wildland firefighter from Southern California. I'm 26 years old. My ex-girlfriend, who was my very first girlfriend I ever had in my life when I was in the 6th grade, we dated for a while and lost contact. We met back up in the summer of 2009, dated for 2 weeks, and she dumps me because she said she needed to focus on college and didn't want any distractions. She met a new guy a month later who she was with for 2.5 years and had a baby boy with, and they are recently broken up. Now this past October 2013, she came back around liking me, and I was over her through the period of the 2.5 years she and her baby daddy were together. She texted me in October of 2013 liking me, and we texted one another almost every day, short texting conversations. She's also my sister's best friend of 15 years, by the way, and they still hang out and talk. Way more than me and my ex do. To make this long story short, all of a sudden she stops texting me, like in April of 2014. The same day her baby daddy goes to jail. He puts his hands on her and went to jail for it for 2 weeks. And during that time, he's locked up, and now she doesn't ever text me, doesn't like any of my things on Facebook anymore, etc. We only rarely, very rarely do we hang out, and if we do, it's with my sister and her only. And I tried getting rid of her twice, but she got very hurt when I tried to cut things off with her and cried to my sister, wanting to know why I don't want to be with her. My soft, kind heart, and because it's the girl I'm in love with, I gave in to her both times. She texted me telling me that she's sorry, but she's lost in life right now. The things are very hard for her right now. She's got a lot going on, but that she knows one day we'll be together. I accepted that. I guess I've noticed recently she's been liking her baby daddy's posts on Facebook. He has a restraining order on him right now, though the court through July of this year, and it goes away because he laid the hands on his ex, and she told my sister that her and her baby daddy are over. Please help me. I'm just a firefighter looking for my soulmate. I want to be with her. I pray to God every night when I pray to please let it be her that I marry one day. I'm just lost myself. She comes looking for me this time around. Things were hitting off. All of a sudden, her baby daddy goes to jail, and she doesn't text me. We don't hang out. We don't talk at all. She's responded to only one of my texts so far. The text was, sorry, I've got a lot going on right now, and I'm lost right now in life, but I know we will be together one day. Text she sent me. Am I chasing blind love? Am I going to get hurt? What's going on in her mind? Where is her heart truly at? Does she even know what she wants? Please help this firefighter out. My ex is 25 years old, by the way, and thank you and God bless. Signed, Confused Fireman. Well, my dear fireman, if only I could help you put out the flames that still burn for your old flame. Now, you did ask me a lot of questions. You asked, are you chasing blind love? Are you going to get hurt? What's going on in her mind? Where's her heart truly at? Does she even know what she wants? Now, first, let's look at her behavior. She texted you until the day he goes to jail. So I would assume that she could have texted you more with him out of the way. But no, she goes silent. So this leads me to believe that she was using you for support when he was around and upsetting her. But then, when he was locked up, then what happened? She didn't need you the same way. So the most important part of the story is the fact that she is not healthy enough to form a healthy relationship with you. Only somebody who is emotionally damaged is going to stay with a guy who physically batters her. Meanwhile, she's got you ready to love her and treat her well, and she's not going toward the light. This means that she's probably playing out what I call an old scar from her childhood. Now, if you've been reading my articles and books, you know that we all repeat trauma. And in fact, we find ourselves trapped in repetitive loops because we're replaying an earlier trauma. And we do this in an attempt to work through the old pain by reliving it and also hoping in the process to achieve a happy ending or a resolution to the trauma. Now, how this plays out. We choose an abuser as a partner, and we hope that this time the abuser is going to love and cherish us and not abuse us. And of course, restaging our old scars rarely works because, as you can see, by choosing an abuser, we just get abused. So your ex needs serious help. Now, you can share my book, Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, with her, and this is going to help her see why she's so stuck. It's also going to guide her on how to heal her old scar. And when she's healed, she won't want an abuser anymore. But where does this leave you? Dangling on a string. Because this girl is behaving very selfishly. Each time you try to pull away, she draws you back in. She's only thinking of herself. She's not thinking of you and how you feel about being yanked. And you're not helping her by staying with her because all you are is a temporary crutch or drug. Do you see what I mean? So she needs to go through the pain of not having you to prop her up. And then maybe she'll wake up to the fact that she needs to get help and stop tolerating the abusive situation. And you need to protect yourself. And if she cries when you try to back away and feel guilty, but still hold your ground. You know, you're a loving guy, you care about her, you will feel guilty, but hold your ground. And you can tell her, when you get help, when you heal yourself, and you move on from this relationship, let me know. I love you, I want to be with you, but I'm not going to play second fiddle anymore. It's bad for me, and it doesn't help you face the music. Now, I've given you the clear path to take. This path is healing for you and for her. And the only hope to fulfill your dream of marrying her is for you to hold your ground and hold her foot to the fire. Now, I want to hear what happens, because you are a wonderfully protective person. You save people from all kinds of fires. Now save yourself, because it's the only way for you to save her. Now, I also want you to check out Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, and I want you to look at your old scar, because there's an issue in you that makes you attracted to a woman who is not there for you. And you, I think, are replaying some old scar from your childhood where you had a parent that was distant, unavailable, elusive, either emotionally distant or physically left the family. And that would set you up for picking a girl who is not available and trying to win her love by being always present to her and always there for her. And if you remember, we kids will always think that when our parents leave us or abandon us emotionally, or actually we think, oh, it's because I wasn't a good enough kid. That's the narcissism of childhood. And we figure, well, if I try harder and I'm a better child, I'll finally get my mommy's love. And then when that doesn't work, we feel like failures, but we carry that struggle with us into our adult love choices. And then we say, oh, well, I'm going to try really hard to get this person to come around and love me. It's that same repetitive loop. So I want you to be looking at your old scar and working on healing it, because as you heal, you are going to discover that you don't love this girl as much as you think you do. That a lot of times we get fooled into thinking we love when we're really in the throes of an old scar. All our bells and whistles are going off because we hope to heal, and that all that excitement and intensity fools us into thinking we're in love. But this is not a healthy love for you either. Okay? So I've given you so much to work on, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear how well you're doing. Read Kiss Your Fights Goodbye. Tell her to do the same, and then get back to me. Alrighty? I'm going to take a brief break, and I'll be back with you in a moment on Ask Dr. Love Radio. You're listening to Ask Dr. Love with Dr. Jamie Turndorf. If you've recently been through a breakup and you're looking for a second chance and you're wondering how you can reconcile with your ex, or if it's even possible after all you've been through, my book, Make Up, Don't Break Up, presents my proven 5-step plan for reconciling with your ex. And this plan was developed out of years of research working with thousands of couples at my Center for Emotional Communication. And this is a proven, no hype, no nonsense method that gets right to the root of the problem and shows you how to reignite that spark and rekindle your love. So for more about Make Up, Don't Break Up, visit AskDrLove.com. And now I wanted to share with you the second love bite that is airing all over America. And this one's called How Going Green Can Help Your Love Life. Mary's about ready to give love the shove, because no matter what she tries, men don't know that she's alive. To turn guys on, Mary needs to turn on what I call green lights, nonverbal signals that let a guy know you're ready to go. Most guys won't approach a woman unless they're sure to not be rejected. So ladies, if you want to kick your love life into high gear, make your signals clear. Turn on those green lights and flash your pearly whites. I'm Dr. Jamie Turndorf of Ask Dr. Love on webtalkradio.net. And now, back to Ask Dr. Love. Welcome back to Ask Dr. Love Radio. I'm talking about how rats can teach us a thing or two about life and love, and I'm at the portion of the show where I'm answering your questions. And this question, I think a lot of you can relate to. It's called, Are We Just Too Different? And so often this happens to us. We end up getting connected with someone who is very different from us. And obviously we're never exactly clones. So how do you deal with your differences in a way that bring you closer together rather than rip you apart? So here's the question. My husband and I have been married 2 years, but have been together for 10. I want to pay off our debts, live minimally, and travel the world. He wants to buy stuff. I want to save. He doesn't believe in it. We have money. He spends it on things. I've asked if we can find a compromise, and he says he doesn't know how. His grandmother and father are pack rats, and stuff means a lot to them, but it just causes me stress. I'm not sure what to do, because it kills me to know that these dreams I have will never come true at this rate. And I'm starting to feel like the things we want are just too different to reconcile, and I'm not sure he wants to compromise so much as he just wants to keep living the way we always have. And I've sacrificed a lot over the years. I chose to go to a different school, and I didn't pursue my dream career because it could take me away. He didn't even want me to think about an internship that would take me a few states away for the summer. Oftentimes, my just hanging out with a girlfriend provokes jealousy. I never wanted to stay in our current town, but I agreed to buy a house here anyway. And a lot of this is my fault. I know that. I wanted to make him happy, so I just said yes to the things that did um, the things that he wanted when I knew in my heart I wanted to say no. And I've tried to change what I want, but after spending our whole relationship trying, I'm beginning to think it's just too rooted in my soul. And another big issue for me is that I have a stepson whom I love with all my heart. Between his two parents, I do the most with him as far as spending time with him and helping him with school. And I know he is adaptable, but I have been his stepmom since I was barely 16, and he is as much my son as a son could ever be, and I fear to lose him. And I'm sick to my core thinking about separating. But with such different goals, I don't know how we can both be happy in this relationship. Please advise, and I sincerely thank you for your time feeling broken. So, listen, I do understand why you feel broken, because this aspect of your marriage is broken, and you guys are suffering what I call a value conflict. Many couples make the mistake of trying to change each other's values, which we can't do and shouldn't attempt to do, because values make up the core of who we are. It's disrespectful to even presume to change another's values. This is because values aren't right and wrong, they just are. And you can't compromise on values either. So, for example, let's say one partner doesn't believe in premarital sex. So how can you compromise? By only inserting the penis a little way? Obviously not. So because values make up the core of who we are, we must respect each other's values and not try to change them. But at the same time, we have to work together to come up with a plan that respects and embraces each of our values. Now, as you can see, this requires patient discussions. When two people love each other and they want the relationship, they can work together to come up with a plan that embraces both sets of values. And oftentimes, couples don't reach this ideal place because they're too busy strong-arming each other. And the angry feelings that result from these power struggles leave both partners polarized in two separate enemy camps. And in this hostile atmosphere, no resolution can occur. So, I'm suggesting that you check out Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, because I have a whole chapter on value conflicts, and let that chapter guide you on how to talk with him. And there's another issue that I suspect is going on here. You said that he's jealous of your friendships with other women. So this, combined with his hoarding, tells me that he has an emotional problem that extends beyond simple value conflicts. So stay with me. When we hoard, we feel empty inside. And the stuff is the unconscious way of trying to fill that emotional emptiness. The fact that he's so threatened by your outside friendships also tells me that he's so hungry for your attention that he can't stand to share you. And this is another clue that he's very empty inside. And perhaps he's also afraid of being abandoned. Now, the problem is that his clinging to you and his stuff is holding him together. And these actions help him avoid the horrible feelings inside himself. And if he were to let go of the clinging to you and all the stuff, he'd have to face painful feelings from childhood that still live beneath the surface. So Kiss Your Fights Goodbye has another chapter in it that's going to help you both address this emotional dimension. It's called the Battle Scars chapter. And here I describe all the wounds from childhood, and I show you how these play out in our adult relationships. And then I show you how to use the relationship to help you heal these old scars. So if he's willing to go there and begin facing his emotional injury, then he will be able to heal. And you'll only know he's healed when he doesn't need to hold on so tightly to you and his stuff. So start by talking about the value conflicts and see if you can get him to collaborate. But I'm suspecting that he won't be able to do so because of his emotional problems. But then see if you can get him to work with you using my book as your guide. And since you're not a trained therapist, you may find that you need some help with this. And if you need me to help you, of course, reach out to me in my private consulting. Now, as for your stepson, we are getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So let's see what he does with the plan I've given you. And in the worst case scenario, and he refuses to get help, and you decide to save yourself, know that you still can have a relationship with this boy you love. and you'll have visitations, and while I know it's not the same as living with him, your relationship and your connection is going to sustain itself even if you're not under the same roof. And by the way, I noticed that you said that this is killing you. And this wording is a clue. It's a flare that your unconscious is sending you. It's telling you that you're in danger. So you need to take the signal seriously, because if he doesn't change, you're going to need to make a change, or else you risk getting sick. Literally, your mind is telling you it's killing you. So let me know what happens, because I'm hoping that when your husband knows that you're going to end the relationship if he doesn't get help, that just may be the wake-up call that he needs to get help for himself. Okay, so keep in touch with me and let me know how you do. Now here's another question. This one's an interesting one. It's the newlywed wife dislikes female friend. This one is really interesting. So, hi, Dr. Love, and thanks. I've not yet been married a year. I'm 29, and my wife is 47. She's been married 4 other times before, and every ex-husband has cheated on her. I've never cheated on anyone, not even close, in my entire life, and I have never been cheated on myself. I've dated women who are extremely insecure and jealous, and I've always thought highly of my wife because, for the most part, she doesn't act this way at all. A girl I work with is 20, and this girl has been nothing but a friend to me. She helped cover shifts for me in order to allow me time to plan my wedding. This girl is not from my city. She's looking for friends. I tried to bring her into our circle, but my wife immediately didn't like her. The girl was unaware for some time that my wife didn't like her, as this girl has told me that she is fond of my wife. My wife claims that she is being flirtatious with me, and that may be true, but overall, I've never felt that this girl was actually attracted or interested in me. The girl has reached out to me in terms of finding a circle of friends because it's been making her very depressed, and she told me that she has a few psychological issues, primarily anxiety. The situation blew up when I told my wife that we were hanging out with her without discussing it because time didn't permit a discussion. And I've had to move to a new city before without knowing a soul, and I know how hard it can be and how potentially dangerous it can be on someone's mind and spirit. And I'm the type of person that I easily empathize with people, and I like to meet new people and help them. I eventually told the girl that she wouldn't be invited out with us anymore and explained that I'm married, and so both me and my wife have to agree before we let someone into our circle. She was appreciative of my honesty, but she was shocked as well. So I don't plan on trying to help this girl out or be her friend, but I feel like I have betrayed her and betrayed myself, because it's bothered me a lot more than I anticipated and is leading me to be distant from my wife. And I don't want to be distant, but I see my wife now as not caring about what's important to me. And my wife claims that this has nothing to do with jealousy or insecurity, and that she simply doesn't like or trust the girl. And am I not supposed to have female friends if I'm married? Why is this bothering me so much? So listen, you really, really are in a tight spot. And I understand that you're angry with your wife for taking a friend from you and for her not understanding who you are, a person who empathizes with those who are lonely and displaced. Now, of course, a wife needs to feel first in the mind and heart of her husband. So your wife is clearly feeling threatened by your attachment to this girl, whether she says so or not. Your wife is older than you by almost more than 20 years, right? She's been cheated on before. This girl is young. She's got to feel threatened and jealous and afraid of being cheated on. So your having invited her without asking your wife was the coup de grace, because it said that this girl's needs came ahead of your wife's feelings. Now, the reason you're in this Cold War with your wife is because neither of you is understanding the other, because you don't feel understood by her, and she doesn't feel understood by you. So to break this, you need to be the grown-up, and you need to talk to her. Start by putting her feelings first, and this is going to go a long way to repairing the injury your wife feels. So to do this, you would say, I've been thinking about what happened with my coworker, and I have the sense that I hurt your feelings when I didn't check with you first before inviting her, and I think I may have given you the feeling that her need to belong comes ahead of your feelings. Am I right? Now, can you see how approaching your wife in a completely open and non-defensive way is going to make her feel valued by you? And when she tells you how she feels, repeat back what she says and ask if you got her point. And keep doing this until she feels settled. When she's settled, then ask if you can talk to her about how you're feeling on the topic. And then you could say, if she says yes, she's open, I have a tendency to identify with people who are lonely and suffering. and I see my own pain in them, and I try to help them the way nobody helped me. Each time I do, it feels like I'm healing myself, and I think you felt threatened by my attentions to this girl, thinking I was attracted to her or interested in her, but none of this is the case. It's just me trying to fix something that's hurting in myself. And then you could go on to explain that helping others is such a big part of who you are that you find yourself feeling misunderstood by your wife. And while you can see why she may have misread your intentions, you feel misunderstood and hurt by this. And caretaking is a big part of who you are. And if your wife stops you from doing it, then you feel like a big part of yourself can't be expressed in the marriage. So you want to know how you can help other young people without making your wife feel unloved or not first. And remind her that she is first and your feelings come first. Now, when you give your wife the right feeling, when she feels secure in your love and first, she just may surprise you and say that it's okay to help the kid out. And call her a kid, which will further help your wife to stop seeing her as a romantic rival. Now, if your wife agrees to let the kid back into your circle, make sure you tell the girl to not be flirtatious with you. And I'm really excited to hear how all this works out for you, because as you're going to see, my plan that I've outlined for you of listening to her and understanding her is going to go a very long way in resolving her feeling of being threatened. And she won't need to take a position, I don't think, of not allowing this kid back into your life. Now, I only have a couple of minutes left, so it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to share with you the sex question, the is it worth it. So go to AskDrLove.com and you can read all about it, where the girl is very, very attached. I mean, I can give you a brief overview of it. She's very attached to this guy who is drugging and drinking and partying, and his family is apparently blaming all this on her, saying that she's a gold digger, just wants him for sex. And her own family is not too happy with her being in a relationship at all, because she's from a traditional Indian family. So she asked me if it's worth it for her to suffer this much pain, and my answer is no. Relationships shouldn't hurt like this, and this relationship has too many strikes against it. So one of the things that I really suggest you do in this case is see if you can get him to take responsibility for his own failures. Have him admit to his family that he's partying. It's not your fault. See if he's man enough to man up and take you off the hot seat. Read the rest of my answer, because it'll tell you exactly what you need to do to solve this problem. But if he doesn't rise to the occasion and he does not own up to his behavior and stop letting you take the fall for it, then you must choose wisely before you tie the knot, because that's a knot that can't be easily untied, especially in your traditional world. Okay, so that's all I have for you this week on Ask Dr. Love Radio. Keep up with my news, because there's a lot of new things that I'm going to be bringing you. Want to make more avenues for us to connect. I'm going to be creating, as I said, the Love Club, a members-only area where we're going to be able to connect with each other in a private, members-only inner love circle. So just check it out. And I can't wait to get to know you and see you more in a more intimate way, and help you practice everything that I'm preaching. And it's going to be so wonderful for you to find love, keep love, get an ex back, re-enter the dating scene. It's going to help you in all these areas. So that's all I have. I'll see you next week on Ask Dr. Love Radio.